number 2 over here. If Capoch wins, he's going to secure 1 point to the Americas, and then Give You Anxiety just needs to finish the task against his respective opponent in here, as we will have on the left side of the map Beastyqt playing as Delhi in blue, and on the right side it is Capoch playing as the Red English. Looking at the maps real quickly, we do have pretty far away starting goals for the players. A front wood line over here for Capoch, and big wood line's kind of far off from his starting base. Whereas on the other side, if I said that the big wood lines are even far for Capoch, we can say the same thing for Beasty. The closest big wood line he has is like, what, 1 minute of walking away from his town center?
Yeah, the map spawns are really, really weird. Look at the big crater in the middle of the map. This is the first time I see King of the Hill spawning like this. And also the gold mines. All the gold mines are like in front of Capoch's base. The big ones.
Indeed, most of the major gold mines are closer to Capoch, although in the playstyle that Beasty has used in the first set they played today, I do believe that it doesn't really matter where the big golds were because they never were touched. This only matters in very long games out here.
You're right, they don't matter. What matters is the sacred side, and just look at the position of it.
Oh, that's actually very well defendable for Beasty. The Age of Empires gods may have actually blessed him here because this is just such a great and well defendable position. You can wall this off here, you can wall off the middle, and then it's very difficult to approach it.
Yeah, it's like there's so many choke points that can be walled.
Yeah.
And it's directly in front of Beasty's base.
That's the other thing as well. Indeed, he is opening with the mosques. Since he cannot go for Sanctity until Feudal Age, he's going to open with Efficient Production. That's pretty standard, followed up by Piety, but the main thing here is Sanctity. And it very much seems like he's just going to try to pull off the same build, but I'm struggling to see how he will secure a map control here against the Longbowmen of the English, because that's exactly what we're going to see. The Council Hall coming in already for Capoch.
In the meantime, if you take a look at the north side of the map, the only way for someone to go there is through the sacred side.
Ooh.
It's fully walled.
That's massive, actually. I thought that there is a way around here, but this basically means that Beasty needs to wall this crossing right next to the stone mine, one in front of the gold, and on the left side, it also doesn't take a lot of effort to wall this off in a way that's impossible for Capoch to push.
Yeah, and Capoch, the only way he can come in is through the gold mine from Beasties. Like, the starting gold mine, that's like the only choke in the bottom left corner. That's the only way to go inside the base if he walls those choke points. 3 choke points.
Looks like, as I said, Capoch is going up with the Council Hall, using 4 villagers over there. Whereas on the other side, it looks like Beasty has to be happy with all the sheep that he collected in Dark Age. That is still 10 sheep to work with. Whereas for Capoch, his sheep count is somewhat underwhelming. He's got like 6 overall or so. Looks like we have the Dome of Fate coming in for Beasty, as you would expect, using 5 villagers to pull it up. Once the Dome of Fate is done, he's going to start popping out the cheaper scholars, boosting the research speed of Sanctity, and I would expect him to drop a barracks soon as well. Or is it even going to be a barracks or potentially a stable for horsemen?
I think it's gonna be a stable. I think that's the safe bet. Like a stable and an archery range in order to be able to build the walls with the archers.
Yeah, there's pros and cons, because if you have a barracks, you can already make a spearman in Dark Age, and you can start walling up this area immediately. But of course, your spearman will just die to the archers immediately. If you go for archers, that's a better long-term solution for walling, but you have to wait until Feudal Age. And with horsemen, you can fight the archers nicely, but you won't be able to build walls around that sacred site.
I think the ideal scenario is make horsemen, bring a villager, wall, and then transition into archers. I think that would be the best thing.
Looks like we only have longbows coming in here for Capoch, so no barracks added as of yet. For now it's fine, but the moment there is a couple of horsemen out, he's gonna have to add some spears. Let's see if there's a stable, and there indeed is a stable by Beasty, so he's gonna play horsemen. The tower in the middle does not have any upgrades right now, so it's not going to shoot any arrows when enemies get nearby.
Will he gather some stone in order to add arrow slits on it?
He did
That's
that in
the
the
real
previous
question.
game that he played on this map. He actually went early on the fortification idea, but he's not on stone right now, so not in the near future probably. Instead, he's rushing up a blacksmith, which is probably the best thing that you can do with a deli. You want to start those upgrades as soon as possible because they take a lot of time to finish.
Yep, and at the same time, Capoch has finished his barrack, so we're going to see Spearman in this English matchup.
Coming in are the spearmen, and the thing is that if Capoch secures the middle with the spearmen, the longbows, he can just get to Castle Age and drop the White Tower over there, and he's gonna have a very nice fortification out. Beasty jumps into the tower with that one scout, so he can get some arrows out. And I do believe that the first scholar already popped out. So, yeah, there's a scholar jumping in between the stable and that mosque. So, at some point, that bad guy is going to come out and start taking that sacred site.
And that tower also cuts the reinforcements, by the way.
Ooh. I think that Beastie is tempted to try and garrison some horsemen into that tower and sort of just bait his opponent's army in there. But Longbow's moving on the north, and Beastie has to pull all his lumberjacks away. Here come the horsemen, though, and there is no spears to escort those longbows, so those could be cost losses here for Capoch. No spearmen to be found anywhere close. That is an easy win over there for Beastie, and a massive amount of value destroyed.
Will the wolf help? Yes, the wolf helps as well.
Here come the spearmen, so Beastie will probably have to pull back, but he has to be satisfied with 3 or 4 kills that he has gotten. He'll probably try to bait the spearmen into the tower fire. As Sanctity is in 1.5 minutes with 3 scholars. There's a 4th scholar already out. There's the stone mining for Beastie. So he's gonna try to fortify that outpost as soon as possible and get arrow slits on it. He's getting close to that 100 stone for the fortification.
He's making another tower.
Oh boy. Is Capoch going to follow this so predictable strategy over here? He probably saw the match that Beastie played before, so he knew exactly what's coming in here. But Beastie's playing this one so smartly, and you see, those horsemen hiding into that outpost is pretty scary for Capoch, because they could jump on his archers any moment.
And, you know, sometimes you know what's coming, but what can you do to stop it?
That's right, that's the question. That's part of the reason why he probably picked English. He was like, okay, longbows could work nicely to prevent those walls, but he apparently was wrong, because the walls are coming up, and we're getting closer and closer to Beast securing that sacred site. 16 seconds away from Sanctity, he can already start sending that scholar to secure that sacred site.
The real question is, what is Beastie going to do against archers? Against the longbows? Because Beastie right now doesn't have an archery range, and he only has horsemen.
And he did lose the scholar, and that's pretty costly over here, because now he's going to have to take the longer route all the way around to secure that sacred site. So Capoch is buying himself some time. He actually unpopped all of the scholars, so he's lucky that he's not losing 2 more out here. That would have been a disaster.
And there's another thing. Wood lines. There's only one wood line for Beastie, and he won't be able to gather it from it soon.
Yeah, that's a problem as well. Scholar coming in to secure the sacred site, and reinforcements were intercepted here by Beastie, so he has to be happy with that. But as he said, his economy is a train wreck. He's starting to add archers, but all of those cost wood, so he's gonna have to relocate his lumberjacking somewhere else. The question is where, because down south there is basically no good wood lines to work with.
The only wood line that I can see is the one next to the sacred site.
Yeah, that might actually be the most legitimate for him, to be honest, focusing all his efforts there. Meanwhile, for Capoch, we are seeing more and more spearmen coming in for him. No Castle Age on the horizon, as Beastie gets the sacred site. 9 minutes and 56 seconds was the time. Spearmen trying to bash their way through the walls, but that's already an outpost out there. And that's going to take some shots on the Spearmen with the horsemen garrisoned inside.
What do you think would be the correct approach for the English player right now? Do you keep pushing?
I feel like you gotta get to Castle Age. I'm not really satisfied with how longbows could push multiple towers here against horsemen. You might be able to go for a ram push here, but I feel like the key thing is that if you get to Castle Age, your options open up. So, for example, you could even try to get the White Tower close to these big gold mines right next to the Sacred Site. So, sort of have a passive-aggressive position there, which allows you to stage an assault against the Sacred Site. Because I feel like it's somewhat unlikely that you can push this in Feudal Age. Might as well try to go into Castle. But speaking of Castle Age, Beasty is the one that's massively ahead in that department. So he's the one that's gonna get to Castle Age.
What if you push the main base with rams? You don't have to take down the Sacred Site. If you push the main base, you stop the food, you stop the gold, and you've already stopped the wood. And at the same time, you're forcing your opponent's army to stay outside of his own base.
It could work, but it's very, very risky, I believe. So that's the problematic part here for Capoch. For those of you in chat that are asking about this one, the Spectator overlay doesn't have a Sacred Site countdown. It actually tells you how many Sacred Site one player has, which I don't understand why is necessary, because I can look at the map and see. But there is no way to tell the victory condition. It started at around 9:55, so 19:55 is the benchmark time. Looks like horsemen are looping around and they're trying to do some damage here. I like how Beast is sort of forcing Capoch to defend here, because it's slowing down Capoch's push. Capoch has a slow-moving army. It looks like Capoch decides to push this one in Feudal Age. Now, the risk that he's taking here is that Beast is getting up to Castle Age, and Beasty could go Men-at-Arms, and the Men-at-Arms of the Delhi, especially with the swords upgrade, that would be able to annihilate everything that the English have in Feudal.
Yep, and Beast is going into the Castle Age, and he's made more archery ranges. Let's see.
Here come the Rams. For now, it's enough for Capoch to just neutralize that Sacred Site. He doesn't need to technically take it. He just needs to make sure that his opponent isn't controlling that, so he breaks that 10-minute countdown, which is now down to 7 minutes. Here come the Rams. Multiple defensive towers are up with fortifications and arrow slits on them. Rams knocking on the walls. So how do you stop this if you're Beasty? You just wait for your Men-at-Arms?
Yes. I think the only way to stop this is Men-at-Arms. And you don't... like, he can stop the timer. If he makes a bad push with all this army and he loses this army, you're ahead. Even if he stops the timer.
So now that the Sacred Site is contested, the timer will stop. So from this point on, we will not really have a good idea on how much time exactly is left. Towers taking some shots on the longbows though, so they might be able to force away the Rams. Rams chilling inside that Sacred Site to neutralize it. Spearmen being focused down by the archers and the towers though. Sacred Site still getting neutralized, but as you said, once you get to a couple of Men-at-Arms, that could be massive here for Beasty, but I don't see them appearing on the battlefield yet.
It would be really funny if Capoch placed his archers on top of the hill while pushing that tower. He could take 3 hits on the villagers trying to go for the Rams.
The horsemen now pop out on top of the archers, and that's not something that Capoch was expecting. And now there is the keep coming in for Beasty as this Sacred Site control turns into desperation, really, because the Sacred Site will be taken here, and those longbows might even just kill the majority of those villagers on that castle. Capoch has managed to break the countdown, and he's killing a lot of villagers here, so I think now he's firmly ahead.
Yes, I will agree with you. He has a better economy, he still has the numbers, and there's only one place that Beast is gathering wood, and it's really vulnerable. if it gets spotted in the bottom of the side of the map.
Currently, Beasty is at 38 villagers, 16 army. Capoch is at 46 villagers, but 36 army. That's the bigger thing. Plus the Rams that are just annihilating all those towers. Beasty's army is soon non-existent. Horsemen pop out, trying to destroy the Rams. But at this point, Capoch doesn't need to push this one anymore. He can just say, okay, I'm going to be chilling here. Because you don't have the sacred site, I don't have it either. But I do have a much better economy and a much better army than you do.
Capoch is really invested into wood. Which tells me that he wants to keep pushing. He doesn't want to go back. Like, he doesn't have a smooth transition behind this. He only has 12 villagers on food. He doesn't have farms. And, like, if he takes a step back, it will give so much time to Beasty. And Beasty will be able to recover.
That's true.
Slightly.
Like, once you got the own Blades men-at-arms, they could suddenly start massacring things here. Look at that, by the way. If those longbows take that hill, that's just such a good position to rain down death on those incoming reinforcements. Rams knocking at the keep. One ram goes down. Villagers hop back inside. Nice micro by Beasty there. But slowly but surely that keep is going down.
I think he needs to put everything inside the rams. Like, even put the longbows in. And just take out the longbows as soon as the villagers come out, and then put them again in. I mean, the spears, yes, you can place them inside, but when they come out, they have to retarget their enemies, so it takes some time for them to react, but longbows will insta-shoot.
Still, most of the villagers are going down here. You see Beasty is pulling even more vills. He knows exactly he needs to keep this keep alive. Another ram approaching. Beasty doesn't have a lot of wood to repair this keep with, though, so he might just run out of wood and he won't be able to repair this building. Another ram on the way. I'm struggling to see how Beasty can hold this keep against Capoch's forces here. Especially because he's just going to lose all those villagers, so even if he somehow keeps this alive, he will just have no economy left.
Exactly, he doesn't have wood. Right now, he doesn't have any wood income, so he can't even repair it.
A Mangonel comes in here. That's actually some very nice shots over there. And now we got some men-at-arms in the party as well. The keep stays alive for the time being, but the wood is running out. The wood is out, and I think the keep will just burn down to the ground. Currently, only 39 villagers for Beasty. Capoch is at 52, spreading out the longbows, and from this point on, he just wants to focus down those remaining villagers, maximize the damage that he has done.
Exactly, because there is no way he can take down Beasty's army now. And Capoch needs to start transitioning. He cannot keep making longbows. Like, men-at-arms are coming out. There's a Mangonel. If you keep making longbows and keep sacrificing your units, you might actually lose this game.
Especially given the fact that Capoch is still pretty far away from Castle Age. As you said, he was very invested into wood. He didn't have a lot of food income. He's just now starting to set up the farming eco. So, yes, he managed to destroy this keep, but Beasty is currently floating 1200 food. If Beasty manages to just sort of balance out his eco a tiny bit, recover, then there is definitely a chance to counterattack this. Beasty went with the compound of the defender into Castle Age, so he's not gonna have the building for the own blades upgrade. In exchange, he will be able to start making stone walls, and once again start taking the sacred site. Currently sitting at 54 villagers is Capoch. Beasty's at 43, so there is an 11 villagers lead for Capoch. And if those longbows find these villagers down south over here, that is going to grow even bigger.
It's also the men-at-arms. There's so many men-at-arms. And men-at-arms fully upgraded, by the way. Almost fully upgraded.
Indeed, and those men-at-arms will just slaughter all those longbows and the spearmen. Another wave coming in here for Capoch. He'll probably try to snipe that scholar that's taking the sacred site. Rams once again pushing the middle. The problem here for Capoch is that he's going nowhere. He's stalling the game out, but he's still feudal age, and his opponent is just piling up resources, almost ready to drop a second keep.
Yep, and Capoch is making men-at-arms now. I think it's kinda late to make men-at-arms. I think it's a lot better to just age up and try to make use of your better economy.
Especially because these are feudal age men-at-arms, whereas the ones from Beasty are Castle Age men-at-arms, so those are much, much better here.
These units were trapped. They are trapped inside the walls. Actually, he's pushing.
Yeah, looks like Capoch will be able to break out of that. His numbers seem to be way better, and the main reason why is because Beasty is just unable to use up all the food that he has. He's got an insane amount of food, which is impressive with only 12 villagers, to be honest. He is just now grabbing Hardened Spearman as well. And now we're seeing some Springolds hitting the field for him, gathering some relics as well.
Yep, and I think he will be able to come back on the villager count with the relics. He has two, and he's getting his third one on the top.
Conversion attempt over here by Beasty on that scout that was hunting for the monk. Won't happen. Capoch will come back and try to kill that monk. The monk should be able to get back home. Those scholars have a lot of HP with their unique upgrades, so this scout should not be able to do much, especially when there's a man-at-arms out there. Meanwhile, Capoch's forces are fairly big, and I love how he's spreading them out, but the men-at-arms from Castle Age here for Beasty will just slap this army in the face.
How does Beasty has so much food in bank?
It seems like he's just not spending it. Like, I barely see any units coming out of him. He's also very low on gold, but indeed it's a miracle that with like 10-15 villagers on food, now it's only 8.
The Mangonel died, by the way. One of the key units.
Here come the longbows, as Beasty is gonna get pushed by Capoch's forces, so he's in danger of losing some villagers, and now Beasty will be forced to fight soon because the Rams are pushing his starting base now, starting to burn down the production buildings. The army of Beasty should be able to deal with this, right? There's Springolds to snap down the Rams, so he kinda needs to force a fight right now before he starts losing his base.
Also, there are not many. There's only 10 men-at-arms, and they are early men-at-arms.
Ooh, I'm starting to realize what's going on here for Beasty. He basically has a horrible food income. So he's housed like crazy. That's why he's not spending his food. Like, he's 80 out of 80, and knowing how low his food income was for the last 1 or 2 minutes, I'm not surprised. A couple of men-at-arms coming in from the north, though, and those could find a lot of villagers here from Beasty. Capoch is coming in from all angles, and currently the problem for Beasty is that all of his forces are inside his base, whereas Capoch is everywhere.
Luckily, there's 2 outposts there, so he can save up most of the vills.
That's going to be a lot of that gold miners, though, from Beasty. Beasty, still way better resource bank than Capoch, but at this pace, Capoch is slowly taking over, despite the fact that Beasty has 2 relics garrisoned inside. Too many villagers are just going down on the right side, and Capoch is actually very unlucky that he didn't find those villagers on that wood line down south, because that would be easy kills here for him. I wonder if he will ever find them.
The key point in this game is Capoch not going into the castle age. He needs to transition. He cannot keep on playing in the feudal age. Like, if he stops making men-at-arms and longbowman, he will be able to click the age up button, but he keeps on queuing units.
It's a weird decision, indeed. Maybe he feels like he needs to make army just to have map control and prevent his opponent from dropping castles in the middle, but it indeed is probably better to just go up to Castle Age, either with the King's Palace, as now that Beasty's forces are all on the right, Capoch is going to make a push on the starting base, and this is very dangerous for Beasty here.
Do we see any other units apart from men-at-arms for Beasty?
We have a couple of Springolds out here, but that's basically it. It's pure men-at-arms. Out there, there's a wolf killing the lumberjacks of Capoch over there, so there's a lot of things happening all around the map. Sacred Site being taken. But at this point, what Capoch is doing is sort of spreading the attention of Beasty. He pulls the army to the left with the rams and the longbows, and moves in to the middle. So he's really doing an excellent job, just stretching out the attention of his opponent, and now Capoch is going up to Castle Age. Movement speed triggered here for those men-at-arms, so they can jump those longbows. Finally, Capoch's army on the south will be cleaned up.
A good transition would be for Beasty to get some elephant archers out.
It's an option indeed, although Capoch could just use Springolds against that, but it's definitely an option out there. Quite a lot of Springolds on the battlefield for Beasty though, and once again, it looks like he's gonna have a chance at securing the middle. But now Capoch is up to Castle Age, and he is probably going to pop armor-clad in a matter of moments. Probably even some crossbowmen, honestly, because he's only up against men-at-arms.
Exactly. If he goes for crossbowman, men at arms, and for a few mangonels, he should be fine. But he did not sold his mangonels early in the game. Just like gather 2 or 3 and just like pop in and get a good shot and then go back.
Tiny bit of raiding coming in on the north by a couple of men-at-arms. Capoch could lose a couple of villagers. Currently he's sitting at 67, 53 for Beasty, as he started the Sacred Site countdown at 25 minutes. So that's your benchmark time. At 35 minutes, Capoch will lose the game if he can't take that, but that's a long time from now on.
We didn't have a long game yet. I think this might be a long game.
It's possible, because Capoch definitely has the army to neutralize the Sacred Site in the middle. His raiding forces get cleaned up. A lot of chaos on the battlefield, despite the fact that we only have a couple of places where you can fight. Looks like the men-at-arms charge in, and Capoch wasn't reacting to them, so some of the longbows will go down. Now here come the men-at-arms from Capoch. So, the thing is that you don't have the owned blades upgrade for those men-at-arms, for Beasty, because he went with the compound of the defender. So, once you get the armor clad in for the men-at-arms of the English, they will beat those men-at-arms back very easily. Speaking of which, let's take a look at that. Armor clad is already in. I love the quick walls, by the way, from Beasty. He was just like, okay, enemies are coming in, I'm just gonna drop some walls with 20 men-at-arms. One of the powers of the Delhi.
There's 5 men-at-arms coming at the backside of Capoch base. They will. The rings are. The bells are ringing as well.
Yeah, that definitely helps Capoch as well. Looks like the towers will be enough to clean these up more or less, as Capoch is launching his push as well. Quite a lot of springles though for Beasty. As I said, it's about 35 minutes until he needs to hold this one. Meanwhile, longbows will start pushing the left side. I love how Beasty walled that wood line off. He's like, okay, I need to hold this position because that's a very significant part of my economy. And if Capoch breaks in there, that could be a problem for Beasty. Beasty, on the other hand, is mining stone, and he's getting ready to drop a second keep in the middle. Currently sitting at 3 relics is Beasty. That's also going to boost his gold income. And oh boy, the longbows are finding those villagers on the south. That's a disaster for Beasty. It was long overdue. Capoch hasn't found these villagers for a long time. Now, that's a significant portion of Beasty's food economy going down. He had 22 on food. Out of that, 12 of them was down here.
Those men-at-arms are in a really, really weak spot, though. This army might actually die. This whole army.
That is absolutely true, especially with the movement speed buff that you can get for the men-at-arms temporarily. You can just really jump on that entire army. And you also have the springles chasing, and really the only way out here is through these walls. So, this might actually turn out to be a great trap by Beasty.
I would probably sacrifice my longbowman, just throw them in to buy time and save up those men-at-arms.
But is there enough time to be bought here? The armor-clad upgrade is in for those men-at-arms, so it's slightly better for Beasty, or for Capoch, excuse me. But there is a lot of springles lining up. Not all springles can shoot though, only 5 of them. So, not a perfect fight here for Beasty, but with the springald fire, he's still annihilating Capoch's forces. Only 7 minutes remain on the Sacred Site countdown. Most of the men-at-arms do get cleaned up over here thanks to the springolds. Longbows will have the same fate. And now we're talking about stone walls, probably stone wall towers as well. And now Capoch is in trouble because Beasty's got a very convincing army. We're talking about 89 army for Beasty, 49 for Capoch, but he's up against multiple fortifications in the middle.
And a lot of springles. Having so many springles is an issue.
It is a massive issue, especially when you lose your own, like Capoch just did. A couple of springolds here might go down from Beasty, but there's a lot of firepower here, so those men-at-arms will probably be cleaned up. Longbow still trying to do some damage, but from this point on, Beasty has a big enough army to just sit there in the middle and hold. What probably he could still use is a couple of defensive towers on those walls.
Capoch played it so well early in the game and slightly in the mid game, but then he started throwing units right and left, right and left.
A couple of villagers will go down here for Beasty, but it's no longer a factor for him. He is focused pretty much on holding the middle exclusively. You see, I wouldn't even be surprised to see him stopping villager production and just saying, okay, I'm gonna go full army. 106 army on the battlefield, mostly men-at-arms and springolds, something that's going to be very difficult for Capoch to break through.
I think it will be easier for Capoch to win through a landmark victory rather than stopping the sacred side anymore.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Because the sacred side is fortified so well with multiple wars. Keeps have boiling oil on them, although no springolds on both. The problem that Capoch is facing is that his opponent has 19 springolds, so even a ram push is next to impossible against the starting base. Tick-tock, clock is ticking, 5 more minutes to go, and the situation is actually getting worse and worse for Capoch, so it's not like he's massing an army ready to push. Every moment he's delaying himself, there's a bigger army to face for Beasty. We're talking about 19 springolds, 3 keeps, multiple layers of stone walls, and those springolds can stop any siege anywhere on the map, really.
I think there's only one way Capoch can win. You make 100 men-at-arms, and you go for a landmark victory. You just go for the landmarks and hope for the best.
That's actually an option. Like, the springolds will snipe down your siege, so you can't even really go for rams. It's really just like, okay, get some men-at-arms, maybe some knights in, and just go for the landmarks. Try to snipe those buildings. Town center is in here. Right next to it is the Dome of Faith, and direct next to it is the compound of the defenders, so theoretically speaking, you could snipe those landmarks, but it's going to be difficult because Beasty just needs to trade evenly, sort of have a fight which decimates Capoch's numbers, and then Capoch won't be able to destroy landmarks with like 15 remaining men-at-arms.
This is such a scary army. The fact that Beasty has only 66 villagers, which means that he can have 130 pop of army, like it's insane.
And it's actually 130 army. He's even going for the stone walls here, buying himself some time. 3 minutes remaining on the countdown. Walls once again coming in. I think the men-at-arms will get in, but Capoch is at 82 army. His opponent is at a whopping 129.
That's 21 springolds.
Scouts are coming in from Capoch to take down the springolds, but the thing is that they can't even reach the springolds in all this fighting. Most of them will just go down to the swordsman, and that's a slaughter. This is what we call a slaughter. And they will even get it trapped in here with those walls going up. This game is absolutely over, and Beasty is going to even it out. The brutal thing here is that Capoch lost pretty much all his armies, down to 48. Whereas for Beasty, he's still pop-capped. So he's still at 193 army. He's completely out of food, by the way. But at this point, he's probably just buying food if he needs any.
For some reason, Capoch sent his springolds on top of the hill, and they couldn't shoot, while they were being shot by the springolds at the bottom of the hill.
Most men-at-arms getting cleaned up. Capoch is trying to get those keeps down with the Trevs, but I feel like I really don't want to be a trebuchet when there is a whopping 23 springolds rolling towards me. Oh boy. And the fact that Capoch has to retreat is a very, very bad sign. We are just 1 minute away from that Sacred Site victory. 132 army versus Capoch's 53. Almost triple the numbers for Beasty.
Yep, and Beasty has only half of his villagers gathering. The rest are just doing their own thing, building.
I mean, at this point, that's probably what you want to do. Just go for 4 repairs, turtle the last 1 minute out or so. Indeed, 1 minute remaining, so it's 35-24. Now or never for Capoch, really, as he's breaking through the walls. Rams are being pulled, but I just don't think that Capoch has enough mass to break through here.
I think it would have been so much better if Capoch, instead of doing all those early pushes after he was able to get his men-at-arms, if he just aged up. Just age up, get your elite infantry, get your upgrades, and do one good push.
And I think all that Beastyqt can say at this point is welcome to hell, with all those Springolds lining up behind the men-at-arms. This couldn't even be better for him than it is currently. Capoch's forces will get annihilated, and it doesn't really matter if the countdown really runs out. It will run out in a couple of minutes, but it honestly doesn't matter. And he actually wins at a Sacred Side win recognition. That was the only question. Will Capoch resign, or will he try to fight it until the end? And you could see that the objective was completed. Capoch didn't resign until the very last moment. So in the end, Beastyqt wins with that victory condition, but even if Capoch resigns, I wouldn't have blamed it for it. I mean, this game was very much over. The army numbers.
Look at the resources gathered. Double the food.
Yeah, double the food, also 3,000 more wood, 4,000 more gold for Capoch. Although Beastyqt has been mining 5,000 stone, and he has been using that stone, fortifying the outposts, getting some stone walls up, getting some keeps going. So part of the reason why he had a lower resource income in other departments is because he was prioritizing that stone that much. But the big deal is the military. 310 kills for Beastyqt, 181 losses. That men-at-arms and Springgold hold in the middle just decimated.